It stinks when we don't feel anything. And there are times when we are sitting down to tap or we're using a tool, the goal is to stop feeling something. But when we're sitting down to do transformation, when we're stepping into something and we tune in and there's just nothing there, it makes it really, really hard for us to move forward, because if I don't have something to focus on, how can I tap? Today in the podcast, we're going to talk about what happens when we don't feel or notice anything at all and how we can use tapping to move forward in those moments. This is Monterastelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 669, originally aired August 14th, 2025. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. Over the course of the last number of weeks here in the podcast and on the Wednesday live streams, we've been looking at things that get in the way of us tapping consistently. And if we have an experience where we sit down to tap and it doesn't go well, what that's going to do is it's going to reinforce for us that this is hard or it might not work for us, which makes us much less likely to sit down and tap again. And so one of those primary ways is when we sit down and there's nothing there. We know things aren't going as planned. We know things aren't working out. We know we're in distress, and then we pause and we tune in and there's nothing. Sometimes there's a sense of numbness where we know something should be there and there is nothing. And other times it just feels empty. And so it makes sense, because when most of us were taught to tap, we were taught to be as specific as possible and tune in and name and give the details. And that is how we make tapping work effectively. And so when we are sitting there and there is nothing for us to tune into, of course, it makes sense that we're going to be disappointed, we're going to be frustrated, and we're going to wander away from the tool. And that doesn't just impact us in the moment where we didn't get relief, but like I said before, it starts to undermine our relationship to tapping. And so that's why for me, it's so important when I have those moments when there's nothing there, but I want to be proactive, that I have a strategy, that I have some things that I can do in the moment. So I'm actually getting something out of sitting down. It might not be solving the exact problem I sat down to tap for, but I am going to feel better. And in feeling better, it's going to change my resource state. And in feeling better, it's going to continue to deepen my relationship to tapping, meaning I'm going to come back to it again and again and again. And so here are 4 really simple ideas that you can implement when you don't feel anything. So number 1, and this is the place that I always love to start. My students probably roll their eyes when I talk about this because I talk about it so much. But this is true for no matter what I'm doing. When I engage with something, the place I'm going to start is the emotion I feel about the issue. So if I'm really, really frustrated, I might tap on, how do I feel about the fact that I'm being frustrated by this circumstance? The emotion about the issue. Well, in this case, since there's nothing that is there, what is the emotion that I am feeling about not being able to tune into anything? And so in a moment like that, the tapping might look and sound a little bit like this. You can tap along with me, even if you're not experiencing anything right now. I think this is a good demonstration. It's going to feel good to do this. I recognize the fact in this moment, I would like healing. I would like transformation. And as I sit here to tune in, to be present to what is going on, I don't notice anything. There's just numbness. And there's emptiness. And because there's nothing for me to tune into, it can be really frustrating and really disappointing, because it feels like I'm wasting my time. I'm worried this tapping thing isn't going to work for me. And so inside of that, I give myself permission to be gentle with myself and just be present to and aware of all of the emotions that I'm feeling in big and small ways. Nice deep breath. And so all I'm doing there is I'm just tapping on the emotion about the issue. And it could be disappointment and frustration and overwhelm and anger and feeling let down or betrayed or whatever is there. Just tap on those emotions, because even though I think I'm focusing on this, my response to what is going on is impacting me as well. And so if I diminish the frustration, the disappointment, the overwhelm, then what it's going to do is it's going to make it easier for me to be present in the moment, to see what's actually going on. And sometimes I will get insight and have something to tap on. And if I don't have insight, I'm not frustrated, I'm not disappointed, so I feel better about what is going on. Even if I don't have that lever to push to make a dramatic change, I don't feel bad about the place I am, which means I'm more likely to make better choices. So, number one, we tap on the emotion about the issue. Number two is we tap on, and this is tangential, but it can be helpful in moments like this. What I like to do is I like to tap on not having to know what is going on as I heal. Because sometimes there's a part of us that wants to understand why we are the way that we are. And that's really useful, because if I understand how I am the way that I am, I might be able to prevent it in the future. But if I'm waiting to understand before I heal, I'm holding myself back. And so sometimes we are numb or we are disconnected from what is going on because our system has an agenda of what healing is going to look like, and we're not going to be able to meet that agenda. So by giving ourselves permission to heal without knowing what's going on, it again will make us feel better and create space. So this is what it looks like. You can just tap on the side of the hand, take a nice big deep breath. And again, just tap on this even if you're not having an issue come up right now, because you're going to feel different after tapping on this. I recognize the fact there is a part of me that wants to understand why I am the way that I am. Because my system believes that if it understands this, then I'm going to be able to make sure I am safe in the future. And I appreciate the fact that my system wants to keep me healthy in this way. But I also recognize the fact there are times in which there is nothing that needs to be learned. There are times in which there is no great lesson. And so that means not only is it safe, but it's actually really useful for me to be able to heal without having to know why. Because in doing that, I move forward in thoughtful and deliberate ways. I give myself permission to be gentle with myself, knowing that if there are any lessons that need to be learned, I will learn them. But I can heal safely without having to understand. Nice easy breath. And so again, what you see what we're doing here is we're making it feel easier in our body in this moment and creating space for whatever outcome to come. And so that makes it easier for us to engage with the healing process. So again, I either feel better, or I have more information, or I have both. And it's going to make it easier for us to move forward. So, number 2, know it's safe for us to move forward without having to understand. Number 3 is to not be in a rush. Sometimes it's not about the plan, but there's this desire to have the answer right now. And since we don't have the answer right now, I mean, I joke about this all the time with my clients. So every time we sit down to tap, we want total, instantaneous, eternal transformation. That's all. And so when it doesn't have an obvious path to that, sometimes we just don't want to start because we don't want to waste time and energy because it's not coming fast enough. So let's just tap on that piece. Side of the hand, nice easy breath. And again, even without tuning into an issue, this is going to be beneficial. I recognize the fact that there is a part of me that wants healing. That is instantaneous. That is total and is eternal. And I'm actually glad that there is a part of me that wants better, that believes better is possible. And I also recognize the fact sometimes the healthiest version of healing is gentler, is slower, is methodical. And that does not mean I'm lowering my standards or my desires. I can want better right now, while also recognizing it is a process. And I give myself permission to simply be in process. Nice deep breath. And again, we're doing this with all of these, tapping on the emotion about the issue. Safe for us to heal without knowing what's going on. Safe for us to heal in a fashion that's not a rush. This is all about our response to what is going on. Because the more I unclench about my worry about what is going on and healing right now, the more vision I'm going to have, the more insight I'm going to have, and the less desperate I'm going to be. And so I'm just going to feel better about the entire thing. The last thing that we can do is to be open to a plan that we don't know yet. So in addition to not being in a rush, also being open to it unfolding in a way that's unexpected. And so the tapping would look like this. Tap along with me again. Even if you don't have an issue, this tapping is going to be useful. There is a part of me that wants to be in control, that wants to know the steps. Because it is easier to keep myself safe when I can predict what is coming. And so I give myself permission to be easy and gentle with my self for the fact that in this moment, I don't have a perfect plan. And that is okay. I give myself permission to be gentle with myself in a thoughtful and a deliberate way. Give myself permission to know that I don't have to understand everything that is coming in this healing process for me to move forward, for me to be healthy, for me to be safe. I'm open to the plan unfolding in front of me easily and gently. Nice deep breath. So, even if you weren't tuning into anything, just going through those 4 rounds of tapping that we did there, the emotion about what is going on in my lived experience, safe to heal without knowing what is going on, not being in a rush, not having to have a plan, that is just going to make it, we're just going to be so much more gentle and in our body and in our moment that responding to what goes on is so much easier. Sometimes when we tap, we're solving a problem. Sometimes when we tap, we're transforming our resource state as we respond to that particular problem. because there are problems I can't control, but I can control the way I respond to them. And sometimes what's going on inside of us, when we feel numb, it feels like we don't control it. So these are the things that we can do in response to all of that. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's a little different approach to thinking about how to tap when we don't have something specific to tap into. But I use these 4 things all the time in my personal tapping with my clients. I think it's a really easy, straightforward approach that's super, super easy for you to use. If you know someone who could use something like this, pass it along. Our marketing budget is your word of mouth. You might know someone who could really appreciate this as well. Now, one of the things that we do at the end of every single podcast episode is we share a previous episode of the podcast. This is episode 669. We've been going at it for almost 2 decades now. This is an amazing back catalog. I got this idea from Alex Schmidt from Secretly, incredibly fascinating. So before I hit record on this, I went into a random number generator. It gave me the number 158. I went and looked at episode 158, which is a great conversation with my friend Carol Look about getting unstuck with tapping. I think that magically goes hand in hand with what we're doing right here. So if you want to check that out, all you need to do is go to tappingqanda.com/158. That's tappingqanda.com/158. And if you go to tappingpodcast.com, you can see the entire podcast archive, close to 700 episodes waiting there for you. As you look at the screen right now, you can see the entire playlist of the Tapping Q&A podcast. Click on the playlist, check out a previous episode, and I look forward to talking with you and tapping with you again real soon. Bye-bye.